It was almost midnight when I saw my daughter's car outside my son's apartment, engine still warm, lights off. I told myself there had to be a reason. But what I heard through that window rewrote everything I thought I knew about my family. The night air had that sharp, uneasy chill October brings, the kind that makes you question your own steps. I hadn't planned to drive past Alex's place. I'd only left the house because the walls were too quiet again. Empty nester they call it, but there's a certain ache in that phrase that doesn't fade, no matter how proud you are of your grown children. The dashboard clock glowed 11:47 p.m. The radio murmured a song from years ago, one I used to hum while packing school lunches, and I almost switched it off before the memories hit too hard. That's when I saw it. The blue Honda Civic. The dent near the left taillight. The parking decal from Lily's University still hanging crooked on the windshield. Hey there, my dear family and friends. If you're already tuned in and ready to enjoy this story, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because tomorrow I'll be bringing you another story just as captivating, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Now back to the story. Lily's car. Outside Alex's apartment. I slowed instinctively, heart thudding. Maybe she'd stopped by. Maybe he needed help. Maybe, God forbid, something was wrong. But it was late. Too late for a friendly sibling visit. And my kids? They weren't exactly close anymore. Lily had called that morning, her voice bright but brief. "Hi, Mom. Just checking in. Busy week, you know. I'll come by this weekend, promise." Her promises always came with that gentle distance, a kindness that replaced closeness when love got complicated. I'd learned not to push. She worked 2 jobs, lived across town, and I'd spent too many years being the parent who called too much. Alex, on the other hand, hadn't returned my calls in 3 weeks. Last I'd heard, he'd lost another job. His tone during our last talk was curt, defensive. "Mom, I just need some space, okay? Please. Don't worry. Don't worry." A phrase invented to make mothers worry more efficiently. Now, sitting in my car across from his apartment, I stared at the dim light filtering through his living room curtain. 2 shadows moved inside. One, tall, broad-shouldered. The other, smaller, familiar in the tilt of her head. I should have driven home. But something inside me, the same thing that had gotten me through scraped knees and broken hearts, told me to stay. Maybe it wasn't curiosity. Maybe it was instinct. The feeling a parent gets when something beneath the surface isn't right. I've never claimed to be perfect. After the divorce, I tried to hold everything together. 2 kids, 2 jobs, and half the patience I needed. I told myself love was enough, that as long as they were safe, I was doing okay. But love that's too busy starts to sound like silence. Sometimes I think my children learn distance from me. I'd seen it at family dinners. Lily smiling too hard, Alex scrolling on his phone, the table filled with noise but no words. And now, seeing them together in that small apartment, it felt like watching 2 separate worlds collide without my permission. I parked down the block and stepped out. The pavement was wet from a light drizzle. I told myself I wasn't snooping, just checking. A mother's right to make sure everything was fine. As I got closer, I could hear faint voices. Not arguing but tense, low, deliberate. Like people trying not to wake a sleeping truth. I froze beneath the window. Through the half-open curtain, I could see them sitting on the couch. Lily had her head in her hands. Alex looked exhausted, unshaven, eyes red. On the coffee table, papers, envelopes, maybe bills. A bottle of something half-empty. Lily. You can't keep hiding it from her, Alex. Alex. You think she'd understand. She'd just blame herself. Lily. She already does. My breath caught. Blame herself for what? The words nearly escaped my mouth, but I pressed my fist against my lips. Whatever they were hiding, it was about me. Car door slammed somewhere down the street, making me jump. The moment broke. I backed away quickly, heart hammering, the wet gravel crunching under my shoes. In the distance, Alex's voice rose. Agitated now. I didn't catch the words. I didn't want to. By the time I reached my car, I could barely breathe. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked like someone else entirely. Someone who just realized love might have built a house of secrets. The wipers squeaked rhythmically as the drizzle turned to rain. My mind replayed every moment from the last few years. Lily refusing to take money when I offered help. Alex shutting down whenever I asked about work. Their sideways glances at family gatherings. The awkward silences when I walked into a room. Had they been protecting me? Or protecting each other from me? I wanted to call, ask outright, but my throat felt tight, heavy with the kind of fear that love can't reason with. I pulled into my driveway, shut off the engine, and sat in the stillness. The house loomed dark, except for the soft yellow light above the sink. That light had always stayed on when the kids were young. My silent promise that home would never be completely dark. But tonight that light looked like a lie. I leaned forward, resting my forehead against the steering wheel. Maybe I'd misheard. Maybe I was overreacting. Or maybe it was time to stop pretending that silence keeps a family together. I whispered into the quiet car. What could they possibly be hiding that's about me? No answer came, just the sound of rain tapping gently on the roof, steady as a heartbeat. What would you have done in that moment? Knocked on the door. Waited for them to come to you. Comment below, because sometimes the hardest question isn't what you heard, but whether you were meant to hear it at all. Morning came heavy, like sleep hadn't done its job. I made coffee I didn't drink, stood at the kitchen counter staring at the mug, and listened to the silence press against the walls. The clock ticked too loudly. Every sound, the kettle clicking off, the hum of the fridge, felt intrusive, as though the house itself was questioning me. I tried to tell myself I'd imagined it. That maybe the conversation last night wasn't about me at all. Maybe they'd been talking about someone else, an old friend, a coworker, anything. But those words kept replaying in my head, looping like a whisper I couldn't shut off. She'd just blame herself. She already does. It wasn't just what they said. It was how they said it. With pity. With history. With love. That kind of tone only comes from years of knowing someone's pain. I tried calling Lily first. Straight to voicemail. Then Alex. Same result. I sat there, phone in hand, a dozen drafts of messages blinking on the screen. Hey sweetheart, just checking in. Is everything okay? Were you with Alex last night? Delete. 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 How do you ask your children if they're keeping secrets about you? By noon I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed my coat, keys, and that old protective instinct that never truly goes away, no matter how old your kids get. The drive to Alex's apartment felt longer than it should have been. The city buzzed around me. Cars honking, life moving on, but I was caught somewhere between dread and denial. When I pulled into the street, the blue Honda was gone. Alex's window was open. Curtains fluttered slightly in the breeze. I told myself I wouldn't go near it again. But I did. This time I didn't hear voices, just the faint sound of music playing from somewhere inside. I could see the mess through the half-open blinds. Pizza boxes, papers, a blanket tossed over the couch. And then I saw it. A photo frame on the coffee table, tipped face down. Curiosity, or maybe guilt, made me move closer. I knocked lightly. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Alex. It's me. A rustle inside, a quick movement. Then the door opened just enough for me to see my son's eyes. They were tired, red around the edges, like he hadn't slept. Mom. What are you doing here? I was in the neighborhood. It sounded weak even to my own ears. In the neighborhood, he repeated, eyebrows raised. At 1 in the afternoon. You never come here. His tone wasn't cruel, it was wary. Defensive. The kind of tone you use when you know the truth somewhere behind the door. I smiled, pretending not to notice the hesitation. Can I come in for a minute? He hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment smelled like coffee and takeout, with an undertone of something heavier. Stale air, maybe anxiety. I spotted the photo frame again and gently turned it upright. It was a picture of all three of us. Christmas 5 years ago. Lily in the middle, Alex pretending to smile. You still have this, I said softly. Yeah. I was gonna put it away. Why? Because, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. Every time I look at it, I feel like we were faking it. The words hit me harder than I expected. Faking it, echoed. Mom, please. I'm not trying to fight. Then what are you trying to do? I asked, my voice trembling despite myself. Because if you and your sister are hiding something. He froze. What? Too late. And said it. The silence between us stretched so long I could hear the faint hum of traffic outside. Did Lily tell you something? He asked quietly. No, I whispered. But I saw her car last night. Here. And I swallowed, heat rising in my chest. I overheard you talking. He shut his eyes, jaw tightening. You shouldn't have done that. I know, I said. But I did. And now I can't stop thinking about what you meant. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, staring at the floor. It's complicated. Then make it simple for me, I pleaded. Please. He didn't answer right away. The music from the other room shifted. Soft, haunting piano notes. It filled the silence between us like something fragile holding the walls together. It's not what you think, he finally said. Then tell me what it is. I can't, he whispered. Not yet. I wanted to be angry. But looking at him, tired, hollow-eyed, clutching a coffee mug like it was a lifeline, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. Not the kind kids have of punishment, but the kind adults carry when they're drowning quietly and don't want anyone to notice. Alex, I said gently, stepping closer. If you're in trouble, I can help. You don't have to go through it alone. That's the thing, Mom, he said, voice low. It's about you. And I don't want to hurt you. The words landed like a slow, breaking wave. About me. Lily said you weren't ready. She said it would undo everything you've been trying to hold together. Undo what? He opened his mouth, then stopped. Looked away. Please, he said. Just give me a little time. He walked toward the door, holding it open in that polite but final way that says, this conversation is over. I stepped outside, the bright daylight stinging my eyes. The air felt colder now. Behind me, I heard him lock the door. For the first time in years, I realized how little I truly knew my children. Not the jobs they had, not the apartments they lived in, but who they were inside the spaces I couldn't see. As I got into my car, I caught sight of something on the windshield. A folded note tucked beneath the wiper. My heart jumped. It was Lily's handwriting. Mom, please don't be mad. We just need a little more time. We'll explain everything soon. L. The words blurred as rain began to fall again. Have you ever felt like someone you loved was keeping a secret to protect you? Tell me below, because sometimes the hardest truths aren't born from betrayal, but from love trying to save you from pain. The note sat on my kitchen table for 2 whole days. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, but I couldn't bear to read it again either. Every time my eyes caught the soft curve of Lily's handwriting, we just need a little more time. I felt that same pulse of dread throb behind my ribs. Time for what? What kind of secret asked for an extension? I tried to bury the worry under routine. I vacuumed floors that didn't need cleaning, folded towels that were already folded. I smiled at the neighbor when she waved, pretended the grocery store clerk's small talk was enough to fill the silence that followed me home. But no matter what I did, my mind kept rewinding, to Alex's hollow eyes, to Lily's trembling voice in my memory. I told myself good parents trust their children. Good parents give space. So I gave them space. Too much maybe. On the 3rd day, Lily finally texted. Lily. Hey Mom. Busy week. You okay? Me. Just fine. Miss you. Lily. Miss you too. Soon, okay? Another promise that felt like a delay. I typed, are you and Alex okay? Then deleted it. If I pushed, I might drive them further away. If I stayed silent, I might lose them anyway. Friday evening I called Alex. To my surprise, he picked up. Hey, I said softly. Hey. That one word, flat, cautious, said everything. You sound tired. Yeah, well, life. Eating okay. Mom. His sigh was half laugh, half warning. Don't start. I swallowed. Just checking in. Silence. I appreciate it, he said. Really. I'm just dealing with stuff. I'll be fine. The word fine landed between us like a locked door. You and Lily have been talking? I asked, feigning casual. Yeah, sometimes. She left me a note. Another pause. She told me, he said finally. She thought it would calm you down. Calm me down. My voice cracked. Alex, you two are acting like you're worried. Because you are. Of course I am. You're my children. Mom, can we not do this right now? The click of the line ending felt like a door slamming inside my chest. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house sounded like a whisper of something I didn't understand. I wandered into the living room, looked at old pictures on the mantel. Alex at 16, holding a baseball glove, eyes full of light. Lily at 12, missing tooth, paint smeared on her cheek. Me in the middle, smiling like I had all the answers. Where did that version of us go? The guilt came creeping back, slow, cold, familiar. Maybe the secret wasn't theirs alone. Maybe I'd started it years ago when I stopped asking how they felt and only asked what they needed. Saturday afternoon, I found myself parked near Alex's again. I told myself it was coincidence, that I'd been running errands and happened to pass his street. But the truth was simpler. I couldn't stand not knowing. His blinds were shut this time. No blue Honda in sight. No movement. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, fighting the urge to go knock again. One voice in my head said, respect their privacy. The other said, they're your children. You have the right to know. The second voice sounded a lot like fear pretending to be love. I drove away before I could act on it. But the feeling didn't leave. It just followed me home like a shadow. That evening my sister called. You sound worn out, she said. Everything okay? I hesitated, then told her half-truths. That the kids were busy, that I was just tired. She chuckled softly. You always say that. You've been carrying the world since the divorce, and you still think it's normal to do it alone. Her words stung because they were true. Maybe I was the common denominator in all our distance. After we hung up, I stood at the window watching rain slide down the glass. It looked like the world was weeping in slow motion. By Sunday morning, the restraint finally cracked. I texted Lily again. Me. Honey, please. I need to know what's going on. Is Alex okay? Are you? No reply. Hours passed. Evening came. Then finally a ping. Lily. Everything's okay. Please don't worry. I'll come by soon. Again. The word felt like a wall built from kindness. I typed back. I'm your mother. If something's wrong, I deserve the truth. The dots blinked, then vanished. No response. I sat in the dark, phone still in my hand. It hit me how powerless love can feel once children grow up. You raise them to be independent, to guard their own hearts, then they use those same skills to lock you out. I wanted to scream, to cry, to drive to both of them and demand answers. Instead, I whispered into the quiet. I just want to help. But maybe help wasn't what they needed. Maybe they needed me to listen. Maybe I'd forgotten how. That night, while making tea I didn't plan to drink, I remembered something. Alex's words. It's about you. Lily's. She already does. Was the secret really something I'd done? Something I didn't remember? Old memories surfaced. The fight after the divorce, Alex yelling that I'd chosen sides, Lily crying in her room. Had I hurt them more than I knew? The kettle whistled shrilly, snapping me out of the spiral. I poured the tea, let it go cold, and whispered a quiet promise to myself. Tomorrow I'd stop pretending not to care. Tomorrow I'd find out what they were hiding, whether they wanted me to or not. Have you ever kept quiet because you were afraid the truth might break someone you love? Share your thoughts below, because sometimes silence feels like protection, until it becomes the very thing that breaks us. It was Tuesday morning when the phone rang. A call that would undo every ounce of distance I'd been trying to maintain. The voice on the other end was shaky, rushed. "Ma'am, this is Mercy General Hospital. Your son Alex. He's okay, but he was brought in after collapsing at work. Mild concussion. You're listed as emergency contact." For a second the room spun. I gripped the edge of the counter, the world narrowing to one word: hospital. "Is he conscious?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, ma'am. He's stable. Your daughter is here already." Lily. That name hit me like both a relief and a warning. By the time I arrived, Lily was sitting in the waiting area, hunched forward, elbows on her knees. Her eyes were puffy, and her phone was clenched in both hands like she'd been praying to it. When she saw me, she froze, half guilt, half relief flashing across her face. "Mom," she said softly, standing. "What happened?" He fainted at work. They think it's exhaustion. He hasn't been sleeping." Her words came too fast, like someone trying to fill silence before truth could enter. I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away, though her fingers were cold. "Can I see him?" "Yeah. They're keeping him overnight for observation." Her voice cracked on observation, and for a heartbeat, I saw the scared little girl she used to be, the one who'd climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Alex looked smaller somehow, lying in that hospital bed. A faint bruise on his temple, and 4 running into his arm. His eyes fluttered open when he heard my voice. "Hey," I whispered. "You didn't have to come," he murmured, wincing as he tried to sit up. "Of course I did. I'm your mother." He smiled faintly, sadly. "Yeah. You always show up." The words stung in a way he probably didn't mean. The nurse entered, adjusted the monitor, and asked a few questions. I listened carefully, my eyes tracing every line on Alex's face. He'd lost weight. His skin looked pale. "Has he been eating well?" "Yes." "He's been stressed," Lily said quickly. "Work's been rough." The nurse gave a polite smile, then left us alone. As soon as the door closed, I turned to my daughter. "How long has this been going on?" "Mom not here," she whispered. "He's been hiding something, hasn't he?" "Please not now," she begged, eyes glistening. But it was too late, the dam had cracked. "You both keep telling me not now, not yet, soon." "Well, when?" "When he's lying in a hospital bed." Alex stirred, groaning softly. "Mom." His voice was raspy, but the look in his eyes stopped me cold. Pain, yes, but also shame. "It's not what you think," he whispered. "Then what is it?" "Just give me a few hours, okay? We'll talk. I promise." He turned his face toward the wall, the conversation over. I wanted to scream, to demand he stop protecting me from my own children's truth. But then I saw how his shoulders trembled, how fragile his breathing sounded. So instead I sat down and waited. Hospitals have a way of suspending time. Machines hum. Nurses whisper. Outside, the world goes on, but inside those white walls, everything becomes distilled. Every sigh, every heartbeat louder than the last. Lily and I sat in silence for what felt like hours. Occasionally, she'd check her phone, avoiding my eyes. I wanted to ask why she looked so pale, why her hands shook when she scrolled, but fear kept me quiet. Finally she spoke. "He's scared you'll hate him." "For what?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. "For something he didn't mean to do." I leaned forward. "Lily, I've made mistakes too. If this is about me, about something I said or didn't say." "It's not just that," she cut in. "It's complicated." The word again. Complicated. The one people use when the truth feels like too much to hold. A nurse came to tell us visiting hours were almost over. I rose reluctantly, brushing my hand across Alex's blanket. "I'll come back in the morning," I said. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," I said firmly. "You're not alone in this, whatever it is." He met my eyes for the first time that day. Something flickered there. Grateful, scared, maybe both. "Thanks, Mom." The 2 words carried years of unspoken love. Out in the hallway, Lily and I walk side by side, the air between us heavy with what neither of us dared say. When we reached the parking lot, she stopped suddenly. "Mom," she said softly. "Yes." When Dad left, Alex took it harder than we thought. The mention of their father hit like a forgotten bruise. "I know he did," I said quietly. "No," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "You don't. You blamed yourself for everything, and he blamed himself for letting you down. He still does." Froze. "That's what this is about." "Partly," she said. "But there's more. Promise we'll tell you soon. Just not until he's ready." Her voice broke on that last word, and I felt my anger dissolve into fear. "You're both scaring me," I admitted. "I know," she whispered, hugging me suddenly. "But please trust us. Just this once." I held her tightly, feeling her heart race against mine. And in that embrace, I realized how long it had been since I'd truly held my daughter. Not as a grown woman, not as someone managing her own life, but as my little girl who still needed me to believe in her. That night I couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't from fear, it was from something else. Fragile, painful hope. Maybe whatever this secret was, it wasn't about betrayal. Maybe it was about love. Twisted, messy, human love. And maybe this forced closeness was the beginning of something I hadn't known I still had. A chance to heal us. When someone you love keeps secrets to protect you, do you trust them? Or do you dig for the truth anyway? Comment below. Because sometimes love means waiting, and sometimes it means knocking again. The hospital's smell, antiseptic and faint coffee, stayed with me long after Alex was discharged. He insisted he could manage alone, but I didn't trust the pale shade of his skin, the tremor in his hands. So, for the first time in years, both of my children came home. It felt strange, almost sacred, like stepping back into an old photograph. Only this time, the smiles were gone, replaced by unspoken tension hanging between every heartbeat. Alex sat at the kitchen table, stirring tea without drinking it. Lily hovered by the counter, glancing at me like a guilty accomplice. "You don't have to babysit me," Alex muttered. "We're just worried," I said gently. "Worried or suspicious?" His tone was sharp, but the exhaustion in it softened the edge. Took a breath. "I just want to understand what's happening. I'm not here to attack you." He didn't look up. "Understanding doesn't fix the past, Mom." That word, past, hung in the air like smoke. "Then start there," I whispered. "Let's fix what we can." Lily placed her mug down carefully, eyes flicking between us. "Alex, maybe it's time." "He shouldn't have to," I said quickly. "If this is about something It is," Lily interrupted softly. "But it's not what you think." Alex leaned back, rubbing the back of his neck. "Remember Dad's last year here?" he asked. Coldness spread through me. "Yes. Remember how you two barely spoke?" I nodded slowly. "I remember trying to keep you both out of it." "You couldn't," he said quietly. "We were already in it." He looked at Lily, then at me. "You always thought Dad just walked out. But he didn't. He told me first." My breath caught. "He told you?" "He said he couldn't handle it anymore. The arguing, the debt, the way you both were drowning but pretending not to." I felt my knees weaken. I sat down. "You were 15, I whispered. "He shouldn't have told you that." "He did," Alex said. "And he made me promise not to tell you he'd lost his job 6 months before the divorce. He said he'd figure it out. But when he left, I thought it was my fault, because I couldn't fix it." He let out a shaky laugh that wasn't laughter at all. "I started taking care of Lily, doing odd jobs, skipping school to make sure she ate. You never noticed." My throat tightened. "Alex, you were working 2 jobs," Lily said softly. "You did notice, just not all of it." Tears burned behind my eyes. "You both carried that alone." "Yeah," he whispered. "And now, years later, it's happening again." I looked between them. "What's happening again?" Alex hesitated. Lily took his hand. He's in debt, Mom, she said quietly. Serious debt. The words hit like cold water. From what? Medical bills, Alex said. After Dad died last year, I started having panic attacks. I lost my insurance when I got laid off. I didn't tell you because you didn't want me to blame myself, I finished for him. He nodded, eyes glistening. And Lily's been helping, he added. Paying what she can. That's why she's been so distant. We didn't want you to think you'd failed us again. The room blurred. For a long moment no one spoke. I stood slowly, pressing a trembling hand to my chest. You both thought keeping this from me was protecting me? You were barely sleeping after Dad passed, Lily said. We didn't want to add more. Do you think I'd rather live in ignorance? Asked, voice cracking. I lost your father, and now I almost lost my son. And you think lies would keep me safe? Alex looked down, ashamed. We thought it would keep you stable. Stable? I repeated bitterly. I raised you to tell the truth, and you decided my heart couldn't handle it. Mom, that's not fair. Neither is silence, I snapped. The room fell quiet. Then Lily whispered. We were scared. That's all. We didn't want to lose you two. Something in me softened. Because beneath all the wrong choices was love. Misguided, desperate, but love nonetheless. In that moment, a memory resurfaced. Years ago, during the worst of the divorce, I'd stood in this same kitchen crying over unpaid bills. Alex had come downstairs, still a teenager, and silently handed me his wallet. Here, he'd said. I saved some money from my weekend job. I told him to keep it. He'd smiled and said, We're family. We fix things. I never realized he'd kept that promise to this day. Still fixing things I didn't even know were broken. I reached across the table, taking both their hands. No more secrets, I said softly. If we're going to survive as a family, we do it together. No walls. No pretending. Lily nodded, tears falling freely now. Alex squeezed my hand weakly, eyes shining with relief and regret. I'm sorry, he whispered. I am too, I said. For not seeing how much you were carrying. For making love feel like something you had to hide. For the first time in years there was silence, but it wasn't cold. It was full. Heavy with forgiveness waiting to form into words. That night I tucked them both into their old rooms. Grown adults back in the house that raised them. The hallway light glowed softly. The same one I used to leave on when they were little. Maybe it was foolish, but for the first time in a long while, the house didn't feel lonely. It felt alive, with pain, yes, but also with a promise of healing. Would you rather know a painful truth right away? Or be spared until the time feels right? Share below. Because sometimes the truth doesn't destroy a family. It gives them permission to start over. The next morning, sunlight spilled across the kitchen in a way I hadn't seen in years. Gentle, unhurried, golden. It lit up the cluttered counter, the chipped mug Alex had brought home from college, and the quiet forms of my two children sitting opposite each other, sharing coffee. For once, they weren't avoiding me. They weren't avoiding each other. You used to hate my coffee, I teased softly, settling beside them. Alex grinned faintly. I still do. But it's free. Lily laughed, a light, surprised laugh that filled the room like an old song. Startled me in the best way, that sound. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed it. I joined in, and for a fleeting second, it felt like all those lost years folded in on themselves. Like we were back to those weekend mornings when life hadn't yet taught us to hold our love at arm's length. So, I said, sipping my coffee. What's the plan? I'm calling my bank, Alex said. I'm done hiding. Lily found a non-profit that helps with debt relief. And I'll talk to my boss, Lily added. There's an extra shift I can take temporarily. Just till things stabilize. No, I said firmly. We'll handle it together. As a team. No more lone soldiers. They both smiled faintly, a little incredulous, like they weren't sure they were allowed to believe me yet. Later that day we drove to the store together for groceries. It was such a simple thing, but it felt sacred. Alex pushed the cart. Lily picked out produce like she always used to, reading labels aloud and muttering about preservatives. I watched them bicker gently over cereal brands, their laughter echoing between aisles. It hit me then, how easily healing can sneak in through the cracks of the ordinary. "Remember when you two would fight over the last waffle?" said, chuckling. "He'd always burn mine," Lily said. "She liked it that way," Alex argued. "I liked it because I didn't want you to feel bad." We laughed until we drew stares. But for the first time I didn't care who saw. That night, after dinner, I brought out a dusty box from the closet. It was filled with old photos, birthdays, Christmas mornings, summer trips. "Oh my God," Lily said, picking up one of Alex with frosting on his face. "You look like a cupcake with eyebrows." Alex snorted. "And you look like a marshmallow with pigtails." I leaned back in my chair, smiling as they traded playful jabs. Then Lily found a photo that made us all pause. It was from the year their father left. We were standing in front of the old house, me smiling too hard, Alex tall and stiff, Lily clinging to his arm. No one looked truly happy. Lily traced the edges of the picture with her finger. "We never talked about that year," she murmured. "No," I said quietly. "Because I thought if I didn't talk about it, it would hurt less." Alex looked at me, then at Lily. "You don't have to protect us from the past anymore, Mom," he said softly. "We made it through." My throat tightened. "Maybe. But I wish I'd made it easier for you." "You made it possible," Lily said. Her voice trembled. "Even when you were falling apart, you still made sure we ate. You worked through holidays, through nights you probably wanted to disappear. That wasn't weakness. That was love." Tears welled up in my eyes before I could stop them. Alex reached over and put his hand on mine. "We blamed you for things that weren't your fault," he said. "But we see it now. All of it." And for the first time I believed they really did. We stayed up late that night just talking. About silly things, about pain, about hope. At one point Lily said something that made us all burst out laughing. "You remember how I used to forge your signature on permission slips?" Gasp. "You what?" Alex was laughing so hard he had to wipe his eyes. "Oh, she did. And once she signed it, Mommy, by accident." Lily covered her face. "You were never supposed to know that." The laughter kept coming until our sides hurt. And in that joy, there was something sacred, something that had been locked away for too long. It wasn't the kind of laughter that ignores pain. It was the kind that coexists with it. The kind that says, "We're still here." When the laughter faded, we sat in comfortable silence. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the old house settling into the night. "It's strange," Alex said finally. "I used to think coming home meant failure. Like I couldn't stand on my own. And now," yes, he smiled faintly, "now it feels like breathing again." "It's not failure," I said softly. "It's family. Sometimes we all need to come home to remember who we are." Lily leaned her head on my shoulder. "Even you, Mom." I laughed quietly. "Especially me." Before heading to bed, I checked on them. Old habits dying hard. Lily was asleep on the couch, a blanket tangled around her legs, the faint smile of peace on her lips. Alex sat in his room, the glow of his laptop illuminating his face. "Hey," I said from the doorway. "Hey," he replied without looking up. "You okay?" He nodded. "Yeah, actually yeah. I'm working on my resume." Smiled. "Good. You're gonna land something better." "You really think so?" "I don't just think so. I know so." He looked up then, eyes soft. "Thanks, Mom. For not giving up on us." "I never did," I said. "Even when I didn't know how to show it." He nodded, and for a brief silent moment, I saw my little boy again, the one who used to fall asleep with toy cars in his hands and always needed one more story before bed. As I turned out the light, I whispered into the dark hallway. "Maybe this time we'll get it right." The house didn't answer, but it didn't need to. It was breathing with us again. "Do Do you believe families can truly heal after years of silence and hurt? Or does love always come back in a different form? Share below, because sometimes the first laugh after heartbreak is the sound of forgiveness finally finding its way home. The next week felt like spring breaking through winter. Laughter found its way back into corners of the house that hadn't known joy in years. For the first time since the divorce, the silence wasn't heavy. It was healing. But peace, I've learned, has a fragile heartbeat. All it takes is one truth, one unguarded moment, for it to flatline. It happened on a Thursday evening. I'd come home from the grocery store to find the front door ajar. Inside, Alex and Lily were in the living room. Voices raised, faces pale. "You told her." Alex's voice cracked. "I had to." Lily snapped back. "She deserves to know." I froze in the doorway. "Know what?" They turned toward me like children caught in a lie, and suddenly I was back to that night outside Alex's apartment. Heart pounding, every instinct screaming that something was still being hidden. "Tell me," I said quietly. Lily's eyes filled. She reached for an envelope on the coffee table, its edges crumpled from being handled too many times. "You got this last week," she whispered. "It came to my apartment by mistake. I didn't mean to open it, but..." Took it. The paper was thin, official looking. I unfolded it, and as I read, the world tilted. Notice of collection. Outstanding medical debt. Account holder. Your name. Name. Not Alex's. The total, an impossible number, sat like a punch in black ink. I blinked hard reading it again. "This can't be right." Lily's voice trembled. "It's from the private hospital you went to when Dad left. They've been billing under your name for years. Alex found out a few months ago." I looked at him. "You knew about this?" He nodded, jaw tight. "Yeah. I found out when I tried to get a loan. They said your debt was attached to my name because of co-signing. You never paid it off, Mom." The shame hit like a physical blow. I thought it was cleared. I couldn't keep up after the divorce. "You should have told us." Alex's voice cracked. "All this time we thought we were the problem. I thought I was paying for my mistakes when I was paying for yours." His words were knives wrapped in heartbreak. Lily reached for him, but he pulled away. "Do you know what it's like, Mom?" he said, voice shaking. "To grow up thinking you're the broken one, just to find out it started with you? Alex, you kept pretending everything was fine, even when it wasn't. And now we're all still paying for it." Lily stepped between us, tears spilling. "Stop, both of you. We've all lied, all hidden things." "Yeah," Alex snapped. "But some lies hurt longer than others." The words cut through the air, and something inside me cracked. "You think I don't know that?" I said, my voice trembling. "You think I haven't lived with that shame every single day? I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to inherit my failures. But you did anyway," he whispered. The silence that followed was unbearable. Alex grabbed his jacket and keys. "I need air." Lily called after him, but he was gone before she could stop him. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Lily sank onto the couch, covering her face. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "We were finally getting better." I sat beside her, my hands shaking. "Maybe this is what better looks like," I said quietly. "Messy, honest, terrifying." But inside I was breaking. Every inch of peace we had rebuilt was slipping away again, like sand through my fingers. Hours later, I couldn't sit still any longer. I drove aimlessly, searching the city for Alex. The rain had started again. Thin, steady, relentless. I checked his favorite diner, the park near his old high school, even the empty lot where he and his father used to work on cars. Finally, I spotted his car parked by the river. He was sitting on the hood, staring out across the dark water, shoulders slumped beneath the drizzle. I parked beside him and got out slowly. "You always come here when you're angry," I said softly. He didn't look at me. "Old habits die hard. You hate the rain." "Yeah. But it drowns things out." I walked closer, heart in my throat. "Can I sit?" He shrugged, so I climbed onto the hood beside him. For a long while we just sat there, the rain tapping against the metal, the river murmuring below. "You were right," I said finally. "I should have told you. I thought I was protecting you, but I was just ashamed." He was quiet. Then softly, "You always acted like you were unbreakable, like you had to hold everything up. I think that's why I tried so hard to fix things. It's the only version of love I learned from you." His words sliced through me, beautiful and brutal at once. "Then I taught you wrong," I whispered. "Love isn't fixing someone else's cracks. It's letting them see yours." He looked at me then, rain streaming down his face like tears. "I don't know how to do that," he admitted. "We'll learn together," I said. But even as I said it, I could feel the distance still there. Raw, heavy, uncertain. When we got home, Lily was waiting at the door. The relief on her face was immediate, but so was the exhaustion. "You found him," she breathed. "Yeah," I said. "But I'm not sure I've found a way back to him yet." Alex brushed past us quietly and went straight to his room. Lily looked at me helplessly. "Are we falling apart again?" I forced a small smile. Sometimes things have to break open before they heal right. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the sound of distant thunder echoed outside. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like the strong one. I just felt human, flawed, aching, terrified of losing the very people I loved most. When someone you love finally tells you the truth, but it hurts, do you walk away to protect yourself or stay to rebuild from the wreckage? Share your thoughts below. Because sometimes love's breaking point is also its turning point. The storm that night never really stopped. It moved from the sky into the house, from the wind into our chests. Every sound carried tension, the creak of the hallway floorboards, the low hum of the refrigerator, even the sigh of the rain against the windows. We were together under one roof, but each of us might as well have been living on different planets. Alex hadn't spoken to me since the night by the river. He left early every morning for job interviews, came home late, and retreated to his room without dinner. The air between us was heavy with unspoken apologies and unanswered pain. Lily tried to keep the peace. She cooked, played old music, tried to make us talk. But every attempt bounced off the walls like echoes from a home still mourning itself. One evening, she placed her hand gently over mine. "Mom, he's hurting. But so are you. Someone has to stop the silence. If I push, he'll just pull away again. If you don't, you might lose him." Her words were soft but sharp. And she was right. That night, I went into my room and pulled out the same envelope that had torn everything open. The unpaid debt. The ghosts of my past. I read it again, slower this time. Not as a reminder of failure, but as a confession. For years, I had buried this truth, believing strength meant silence. But now, strength meant something else entirely. I sat down at my desk and began to write a letter. To both of them. "Dear Alex and Lily, I used to believe love was keeping pain hidden, that protecting you meant pretending everything was fine. But all I did was teach you to carry your own pain in secret too. The truth is, I wasn't strong when your father left. I was scared. I made mistakes. I borrowed, I lied, and I kept quiet because I didn't want you to see me broken. But maybe love isn't about pretending. Maybe it's about letting each other see the cracks and staying anyway. If I could go back, I'd tell you sooner. I'd ask for help sooner. But I can't change that. I can only start from here if you'll let me. Love." I folded it carefully and slipped it under Alex's door before I lost the courage. Morning came. The smell of coffee drifted through the house, but there was no sound of footsteps. I stayed at the table waiting, heart pounding, hands trembling. Lily moved quietly around me, sensing my nerves but saying nothing. The clock ticked loudly. Each minute stretched like a lifetime. Then I heard it. Alex's door opened. He stood in the hallway, letter in hand, eyes red but clear. "You wrote this?" he asked. He nodded. "Every word." He walked closer, slow, uncertain. For a moment, I thought he might turn away again. But then he sat across from me. You know what's crazy, he said quietly. I've been angry for so long, I don't even remember what it feels like not to be. Anger's easier than pain, I said. But it's also lonelier. He gave a small broken laugh. Yeah. I guess I'm tired of lonely. He rubbed his thumb across the edge of the letter. You were just trying to survive. Get that now? I just wish you'd let us survive with you. Tears welled in my eyes. I wish I had too. Lily entered then, holding her coffee mug like a peace offering. So, we're talking again, she asked, half smiling. Alex smirked faintly. I guess we are. Good, she said. Because I made pancakes, and if this family's going to heal, it's not doing it hungry. We all laughed, a sound fragile and real like the first thaw of spring. She handed Alex his plate, then me mine. It was so simple, pancakes, syrup, warmth, yet it felt monumental. For the first time in weeks we sat together. No accusations. No walls. Just us. After breakfast, Alex leaned back in his chair. I've been offered a new job, he said finally. Small construction firm. Good people. But it's in another city. Lily and I froze. How far? I asked softly. 3 hours. The words hung between us like fog. You should take it, I said, surprising myself. You think? Yes. You deserve a fresh start. He looked down, fingers tapping against the table. I'm scared to leave now. What if we just fall apart again? Then we'll fall forward, I said. Into something new. We've already proven we can rebuild from ruins. His lip trembled just slightly. I don't want to lose this. You won't, I promised. Because this time we're honest. He nodded slowly. Okay. Then I'll go. But not to run, to grow. That evening we took a walk down to the park as the sun set. The light draped everything in gold. Even the cracks in the pavement seemed beautiful. Lily looped her arm through mine. We're going to be okay, aren't we? She asked. We already are, I said. Alex walked ahead, hands in his pockets, glancing back every now and then as if to make sure we were still there. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the weight of being their mother. I felt the gift of being their home. That night before bed, Alex knocked on my door. Mom, he said softly. About that letter. Yes. I kept it. Good. Not because I need it, he said. But because I don't want to forget that we made it through. My chest tightened with pride. Then neither will I whispered. He hugged me then, the first real hug in years. No apologies. No words. Just forgiveness pressed into skin. When life gives you a chance to start over, do you stay where it's safe or take the risk to grow, even if it means leaving love behind for a while? Share below, because sometimes the real choice isn't between leaving or staying. It's between fear and faith. 3 months later, the house had grown used to a new kind of quiet. Not the aching silence of absence, but the gentle hum of life moving forward. Alex's old room had become Lily's small art studio. Canvases propped against the wall, sunlight spilling in like honey. The table still bore faint coffee rings from mornings filled with laughter and messy pancakes. But the rhythm had changed. Every morning I brewed 1 less cup of coffee. Every night I caught myself looking at the driveway, half expecting to see Alex's car pull in, headlights cutting through the dark. And yet I wasn't sad. I was proud. For the first time in years we were each becoming who we were meant to be, together even when apart. It was a Sunday afternoon when my phone rang. Unknown number. But I knew that voice the instant I heard it. Hey, Mom. I smiled before I could speak. Hi, sweetheart. How's the new job? Busy. Loud. Sawdust in my hair every day. You'd hate it. Probably, I laughed. But you sound happy. Yeah, he said softly. I am. There was a pause, the kind that means something is coming. Listen, he continued. I'm driving home next weekend. I need to show you something. Good surprise or bad? Good, I think. Depends on how you feel about old ghosts. And just like that, the anticipation began again, The same tightening of the heart I'd felt that night when I saw Lily's car outside his apartment. Only this time, it wasn't fear that filled me. It was hope. The following Saturday, I stood on the porch, watching as a familiar silver car turned into the driveway. Lily came running out behind me, squealing. "He's here!" Alex stepped out, looking older somehow, calmer, more grounded. He hugged Lily first, then turned to me. "You look good," I said, smiling. "You too. Still burning toast every morning. Only on the days I miss you." We laughed. The easy kind of laughter that carries no weight. "So," I asked, "what's this surprise?" He motioned toward the car. "It's in the trunk." Lily's eyes widened. "If it's a dog, I'm keeping it." He chuckled. "Not a dog. Just something that belongs here." He opened the trunk. Inside sat a box, worn, wooden, and old. My breath caught. "That's your father's," I whispered. "I thought it was gone." "I found it in the old storage unit near the construction site," Alex said. "Had your name written on it." He lifted it carefully and carried it inside. We set it on the kitchen table. Lily ran her fingers over the lid. "What's in it?" I hesitated, memories flooding back. Letters. Photos. His journal. I packed it away when he left. Couldn't bear to look. Alex glanced at me gently. "Maybe it's time." So we opened it. Inside were envelopes yellowed with age, Polaroids curled at the edges, and a small cassette tape labeled, "For them." My hands trembled. "He left this the week he moved out." I never listened. "We can now," Alex said quietly. Lily found an old cassette player in the garage. When she pressed play, the faint static of decades past filled the room. Then came his voice. Low. Familiar. Steady. "If you're hearing this, it means time did what it always does, it passed. And maybe by now the pain has softened. I just want you to know, leaving wasn't about running. It was about failing to stay the right way. I hope one day you'll forgive me and forgive each other too. You three were the best thing I ever built." By the end, no one was breathing. The only sound was the hum of the old tape winding to a stop. Lily wiped her eyes. "He was trying to say sorry." Alex nodded. "And I think we just heard him." I pressed my palms against the table, head bowed. All these years, I hated him for leaving. But maybe he was just broken too. "Then I guess we all were," Alex said softly. "And maybe that's okay." Later that evening, as the sun sank behind the trees, we carried the box to the backyard. Alex dug a small spot beneath the oak tree where we'd buried our dog years ago, a place that had always felt sacred. We buried the box together. Not as a goodbye but as a release. When it was done, I stood back and whispered, "Thank you for finally coming home." And for the first time, I didn't mean it to my ex-husband. I meant it to all of us. That night after dinner, I walked past Alex's old room. Through the window, I could see the reflection of our little family gathered in the kitchen. Lily painting at the table, Alex helping her clean brushes, laughter bouncing off the walls. And I realized something. This was the same window I had stood outside months ago, terrified of what I'd overhear. Now I stood in the same place, listening again. But this time what I overheard wasn't secrets or pain. It was healing. It was love, unguarded and free. As I turned off the lights and headed to bed, I whispered to myself, what you overhear in the dark doesn't always have to break you. Sometimes it brings you back to life. If you discovered the truth about someone you love, one that shattered you but also set you free, could you forgive them? Share your answer in the comments. Because sometimes, forgiveness isn't about who was wrong. It's about finally letting love be louder than silence. That night, when I saw my daughter's car at my son's apartment, I thought I was witnessing the end of us. But now I know, it was the moment we finally began again. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this video, and I'm confident you enjoyed it. We've got plenty more exciting and heartwarming stories waiting for you. Just click on the image on your screen to watch the next one.